Good morning, everyone. Happy Friday, and welcome to another session of Azure Power Lunch. And I'm going to start sharing my screen. 1 second. Okay. So wrong title and wrong date. It's Azure Spring Cloud. We're going to be talking about Azure Spring Cloud, and I will update the slides and share it. And as you know, you can go to our YouTube channel and download the slide deck. The link it will be in the uh, description. So Azure Spring Cloud. So before I talk about Azure Spring Cloud, I just want to spend a few minutes on Java at Microsoft. So as you know, that Spring is a popular framework to build Java application. Java is very popular and gaining a lot of popularity inside Microsoft. I mean, if you remember, we used to have a debate like .NET versus Java. That no longer the question. Java is treated as a first-class language. You know, VS Code has excellent support for Java. A number of Azure services, they rely on Java, especially like, I mean, of course, LinkedIn has as you can see here, has hundreds of microservices, which are written in Java. There are first-party Azure services, which rely on Java. And, you know, we have a number of games like Minecraft is one of them. Microsoft, which relies on Java, Microsoft is releasing mobile application on an Android platform, which are written in Java. So Java is a first-class language. And why I want to talk about it, because that will set the context for you know, this why Spring on Azure, and you know, that will kind of help you understand uh, why we you know, brought this service. We are contributing to Java through OpenJDK initiative. And finally, as we look at Java development, more and more people are using Spring to develop applications in Java. So Spring have two um, frameworks. We have Spring Boot, and I'm going to go to this slide first. Spring Boot, this is a framework which you can build up any type of application, web or console or whatever that it may be. On the other hand, Spring Cloud is a cloud offering where you can um, let application talk to each other, because a monolithic application doesn't add much value. It's when you have microservices like APIs, which are talking to other APIs, and then there is a front end, which is talking to the backend APIs to, you know, do some useful work. So that's what Spring Cloud allows you to do. So this is um, one of the ways that you can build microservices. So, and this is, as you can see from this slide, this is one of the two most popular frameworks, Spring Boot and Spring MVC, to develop applications in Java. I mean, they have kind of a very large mind share. And by the way, if you are not aware, Pivotal is the company behind Spring, and we have been cooperating with Pivotal on a number of deployments, a number of services in Azure. For example, there is a marketplace offering which allows you to spin up Pivotal Cloud Foundry in Azure, and you can spin through an ARM templates and run it and all that. So this is that marketplace offering. Okay, so in terms of Spring Cloud, there are, I mean, you can definitely spin this cloud on by yourself. You can take some VMs, you can spin up, you know, services on those, and then, you know, all the configuration services, all the plumbing that you need. But in the end, the core that you want to do is the cloud app. That's the core of your business. The rest is all plumbing. And what Azure brings to the table with this Spring Cloud is take that plumbing or take the responsibility of plumbing from you to an Azure service which provides that plumbing out of the box. That's where this Azure and Pivotal Alliance comes into picture. So not to too much marketing slides, I just want to go directly to here. What Azure Spring Cloud is, it's a Spring Cloud service fully managed on Azure, which um, is jointly built. So we are both Microsoft and Pivotal are providing support for that service. So both are, I mean, it's a first party service. You don't need to bring any licenses or anything. We will be providing support for this service and through Azure support, and we will get with Pivotal team if there's any issues or anything that happens. A fully managed service, just like any other. Right now, it's in public preview, so there is no SLA. But when it will be go into GA, at that point you will have an SLA associated with that service as well. And as I said, it's a jointly built with both Pivotal and Microsoft. Okay, so what this service provides, it provides the ability to run Azure, Spring services. If you have existing Spring Cloud or you're planning to build new Spring Cloud services, to run that on Azure. Okay, and just to let you, I mean, in this discussion today, we are not gonna go deep in Spring framework, what that is. I just want to let you know that this is basically a framework just like .NET framework or Node.js. It's a framework um, to build Java applications. That's what it does. And so that's the core purpose of that framework. Makes it easy to build those application, distributed application, or monolithic application, whatever that it may be. It allows us to do that. And what Azure Spring Cloud does is it allows you to host these applications, those microservices, without spinning up or kind of managing the whole Spring Cloud infrastructure. It does it basically all throughout. It provide all that management capability, the ability to monitor, to do tracing. It has Pivotal build service uh, behind the scenes, so you can build your images, create those containers, and then run it as microservices. All of that is done behind the scene, and you can plug and play things as you wish into this service. And before we go into demo, so this is how these two services work. Let me just, okay, I think I switched the slides. So this is how, if you want to do it by yourself, you will have to spin up probably an AKS cluster. You will have to, spin up all these um, services, support services. If you don't mind, if you are not speaking, can you please mute yourself? So basically, you will have to spin up all of these supporting services and kind of like Pivotal build service, configuration service, and all. But with Azure Spring Cloud, all of that infrastructure, you are letting Microsoft and Pivotal manage that. All of it will be provided by Microsoft and Pivotal. And what you are doing is you're just bringing your services and taking advantage of the underlying platform. Okay, any questions?
Hey, is this going to be in a customer subscription or is it going to be?
No, it is going to be customer subscription. It's a first party service. Actually, let's take a look at the creation experience. Okay,
Thank you.
so that should address some of the questions. So first of all, let me go in here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new resource. And I'm just going to say Spring. So it's going to say Azure Spring Cloud. Let's create it. We're gonna call it, yes. So we're gonna pick, by the way, this service is not available in every region. It's only available in these regions. Okay. So if you wanna spin up, you will have to pick one of those regions. And I'm gonna call it NZAPL demo. So this is how you set it up. You want to enable logs, you can define an log analytics workspace. If you want to do tracing, you can use application insight. So this is built in. If you want to use something else, there are ways to do that as well for Spring Cloud. So I'm just going with some default option, and then you go into review and create, and it will create. It will take good 5-10 minutes to create it. Okay. So what I'm going to do is, um, I'm not going to create the service. As you can see, this is a first party service, and it is, the consumption is coming out of your subscription, okay, or whatever the cost is. So that should clarify that. In the meantime, I'm going to show you, already I have spun up a Spring Cloud service, which is here. So from the top, this is pretty standard stuff, activity log, access control. You have the config server. So config server, where you want to store your configuration. Once again, this is a very, this concept is very specific to Spring Cloud. Spring Cloud has a config server. That's the config server you can use, and you can search patterns, how you load configuration setting, or you can import configuration setting directly from a file. Okay. The second most important thing is apps. Okay, that's where you basically define your app. So let's see a app creation experience. Okay, let's say I wanna create a APL demo. APL demo. So this is the name of the app. This is the Java environment. Right now we support 8 and 11. How many CPUs your app will consume? Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, or how much RAM it will use. This is the how many instance you need for your application. Okay, all of that. So let's just go with the default and let's create this app instance. Okay, so what you will see here is, in a second, if we refresh it, you see it's allocating. It will take a minute or two to spin that app up. So while it is doing that, let's create a Java Spring application and let's deploy that application in here. So what I'm going to do is, I have VS Code. So as you can see, I have Java extension. So there's detailed documentation, and the links are there in the slide deck on how to download, how to set up your VS Code to develop Java. Okay. So by the way, I'm not going to go into any Java specific things, but just to show you how quickly you can build an application using Maven. So I'm going to use Spring Initializer. I'm going to use Maven for that. And then I'm going to just use this default. I'm going to use APL demo 2, just APL demo. And with that, I'm going to, I think some echo. Hello. Some echo again for some reason. I'm not sure why. Okay. So good. So basically, and then I'm going to use Spring Web as a dependency. And with that, I'm all ready. I'm going to say enter to continue. It's going to ask me where it wants to create that. I'm just going to select a folder, and it's going to create that folder. I'm just going to open that particular folder in my VS Code. So this is open. Um, so right now, this app is not doing anything. As you can see, this is the Java application. It is just an application. There's no REST controller there, or REST API there. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to cheat. I'm going to pick a piece of code, and I'm going to place it here. So what this code does is, it is just showing, it's just creating a an API, a REST API, and this is the get mapping. So basically, it's a get method with hello, and it's gonna take whatever input is available, and it's gonna say hello. If not, it's gonna do something with Azure, Azure Power Lunch and things like that. So it's gonna use it as a default value. So with that, let's see if we can build this application. So I'm gonna save it, okay, and I am going to go to terminal, and I'm gonna do mvn clean package. So that's gonna build this application. Yeah, there are some errors. So let's fix those errors. Checking for quick fix. What is the quick fix? I think this is the namespace issue. So that namespace issue is gone. Once again, get mapping. We're gonna get the quick fix for that as well. So this is because of the extension that we are using. That's why it's showing us, just like an IntelliSense, it shows if you have used Visual Studio, this is the same intelligence it's doing. Of course, it's getting error. So what we're going to do is going to do a shortcut. We are just going to do a Spring Boot run. So let's run this application locally. Okay. So this is running this application locally. While it is running, let's take a look at the application. That application is deployed. So right now, this application is not doing, it's just a placeholder for the application. If you see APL demo, nothing is happening here. It's just a placeholder. That's all it is. Okay. So going back to our, where we were, this one is the last one. So here we are. What happened? I did not save it. So let's run this one more time so we can run this application. So at this point, we're just running this Java application. And what's happening is it's just like .NET is getting all the libraries, and it's gonna run this application so we can test it locally before we deploy it into the cloud. Yes, it's running. So let's go in here, and we're gonna say localhost 8080 hello. So it's saying hello because we did not type anything as a name. If we give a name is equal to, let's say I'm just going to type my name, it's going to say hello Naveed for it. Okay, so this is done. So let's package it. So we're going to use mvn clean package, and then let's try to um, deploy it into. So what it's going to do is it's now going to create the build. And what we will do is we will take that build and then deploy it into our Azure application that we have created. Give it a second. The build will be completed soon. And in the meantime, let me show you the command. Hopefully you can see it. Let me increase the font size a bit so everybody can see. So this is the command that we are going to be using to deploy the app. Okay, where and please note, I'm not using any group or Spring Cloud name. So I have already declared defaults. So what I'm going to use is I'm going to get the path for the jar file, and I'm just going to push the jar file. So this is one way of deploying this thing into the cloud. By the way, you can use Azure DevOps as well. That's definitely a way to do it, but we're just going to use this way. So let's see what is the name of the file. So this is the name of the jar file. I'm just going to copy that jar file, Control C, and I'm going to go in here. This is my jar file, and my name of my application is apl-demo. So and we're just going to do it from the terminal. So we're going to go in here and we're going to, oh, come on, I did not copy it, right? See, come here and let's deploy the application. So what it's going to do, you will see that command running. It takes a minute or two to deploy it. And as it starts deploying, let me show you some other pieces of this, like how Spring Cloud works. So you have these deployments. If you are familiar with blue-green deployment methodology, so it also supports that. So you can deploy an application both in production, and then when the next version come in, you can deploy it in staging, and then you can switch the deployments. Okay, so so it's kind of a similar to if you used app service, is an app service slots. This is a similar model here, that you will be using, and that's kind of that's how you can use with blue-green deployment, and that's how it will work. Let's see if our deployment is done. Its status is running. So let's go in here and let's go to our apps and let's go to the APL demo app. Right now, this is an internal only app. It is not exposed to the outside. You can assign it a public endpoint if you want to make it a public service. We are not going to do that. We're just going to copy this into the clipboard. This is the test endpoint, okay? And this is not publicly available. These type of endpoints, this is a hint that this is not a publicly available endpoint. So I'm just going to type in hello. And this is the same thing that we saw, uh, when we run it on-prem. I do it. So although this is a very simple application, but gives you an idea how you can take your application and just push them. So this is a Spring application. We did not do anything Azure specific. Just took that application, package it, push it into the Azure Spring Cloud. It's running. So just like that, your microservices can run in the cloud. Okay. So with that, so let's say that if we have kind of we are updating this application, new versions are coming in, but we want to do a blue-green deployment where we deploy a version, test it out, and when the next version comes in, we put it into the green deployment and then switch back and forth. As I said, you can do that here as well, with these deployments. So in the deployments, as you can see here, I already have a deployments for already, just to save time, of a hello service. It is right now the green deployment. So if I go in here, I can pick that URL up. And if I say /hello, it will show me hello world from Azure Spring Cloud. But if I switch it, so if I go back into the deployments and let's say I select it and I say set deployment and I want to use the default as my deployment, it will take a minute to change this. And once I refresh it, I think it's taking time. Okay, yeah, I think it's going to take a few minutes. It's giving me a bad gateway error, but let's give it a few minutes. You see that? I hope you can read it. Hello APL. So the message has changed. It's a other service that now, other instance, the green instance or the default instance has become the live instance. Before it was the green instance. So that's one thing. The second, two other very important thing. One is the config server. So you can put the config server, all the config information here. That information can be how different services talk to each other. Number one, how different services, how they load their configuration information and things like that. So I have something here in the configuration and not much. The only thing I have here is this. So this is my configuration. I only have one thing, application.yaml file, and it has this message configured by Azure Spring Cloud. And I have a app set up here, which is loading that configuration from the configuration file. If you are familiar with Spring Java, you know how to load data from the configuration file. So once again, load data from the config server. So once again, you set up your config server here with the Spring Cloud. Same, you don't have to change anything except now it is done through the UI, or of course you can use the CLI, whatever, if you're doing it in Spring Cloud and Azure Spring Cloud, and then you will load that value from that particular app just like that, and it will show this value here. So for example, once again, I can go into my app. This is my uh, simple config app. This is loading a value from um, from the configuration. So I'm just gonna copy this and I am going to paste it here. Oh, sorry, not here. I'm gonna paste it here. /message. Okay. And you see configured by it. So this is showing the message. This is reading the message from the configuration file and showing. And you can have other things as well, other setting how to. So it can be as complex as you can. A few other things I want to show. You see that scale. You can change the scale of your application. You can change the memory, instance count, all of it with a click of a button. Okay. Configuration, you can provide configuration value here as well. Okay. With service bindings, so you can create service bindings. So let's say right now there are 3 bindings available. Once again, this is a concept with Spring Cloud where you can attach services to it, and those values are read at runtime. So it's like kind of through, it will inject those services into your app as you request those. Okay, so right now we have 3: Cosmos, Cache, Redis Cache, and MySQL, but more will come as this service goes through towards the GA phase. Okay, um, so these are some of the things that service, of course, logs. So I've already attached to logs. So as you can see here, let's look at this query. Let's say what this query returns. So this is information I'm getting directly from the log analytics. So as you can see, all that information, service logs are available at your fingertips, so you can query those. You don't have to. If um, and you can of course use for distributed tracing. You can use App Insights or other APM tools of your choice. So with that, any questions? I know we are right at the hour, at the 30-minute mark. Sorry, it took today. It was a little bit longer, but any questions? Yeah. So folks, once again, just a quick wrap up. This is a first party service. The goal is of this service is to allow you to host Spring services without any code change. First party, full support for different Azure Spring Cloud based services like configuration, you can attach other services. For example, here, when we look at it, you can attach like service binding, auto support scaling of your services. So more features to come as this service march towards GA. Please feel free to reach out if you have any questions. In the meantime, the slide deck as well as the video will be available on our YouTube channel. So thank you very much and hope to see everyone next week.
Thanks, David.